Welcome to Your Future in Sales and Marketing, a podcast that helps you make great career decisions to get the most out of your career journey. We'll introduce you to the AXR network of established senior leaders and a handpicked group of future aspiring leaders who have it all in front of them. You'll learn what it's like in the top job and how to get there. Your hosts from AXR's specialist sales and marketing recruitment team will also land bonus episodes for you on how to work with recruiters, write a resume, and smash an interview, as well as our very popular market updates. It's the podcast that has it all. You can't get this career advice anywhere else. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your Future in Sales and Marketing. And in another one of our episodes to kick off 2026, we're going to be telling you all about the new edition of the AXR salary guides. I'm Andrew Cannock. I'm a specialist recruiter with AXR, looking after the commercial space, and I'm joined by my colleague, Ben. Ben, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Looking forward to talking about all things marketing for the salary guide this year, and I'm sure you'll bring in some great information about the sales side.
I'll do my best. Okay, before you dive into the salary guide, you may not have downloaded it, you may have it right in front of you, you may never have heard that we do salary guides, but before you dive in, I recommend that you spend a little bit of time listening to this episode, because what we're going to take you through is exactly what the guides cover, what's changed since past editions, and how you, as an individual or as a business leader, should be using them to make the best possible career and hiring decisions.
So really what we're actually launching this year, similar to what we've done in previous years, but it's going to be a whole new format. You've got everything you'd expect to find in a salary guide, salary ranges, titles, skill sets, the skill sets that we're looking for this year as well. And it'll hopefully help you identify where you can grow to help get yourself to that next level. Now, we're looking across both sales and marketing and all job positions within our specialization, and that's from junior roles to right at the very top.
Yeah. And in terms of the areas that we cover and maybe how that's changed a little bit since particularly last year, we have guides for marketing, so Ben's space. We have a guide for sales. We have a separate guide for category. And for the first time this year, we're launching a dedicated commercial excellence guide. So that's in response to what we're seeing in the market, which is commercial excellence becoming more and more prevalent within organizations. As we were thinking through exactly what that includes and how it's structured, it's tricky because commercial excellence looks different from business to business, but our guides are meant to be interpreted as this is the way that a business must be structured, or even how most of them are structured. What we try and do is group roles by discipline and then by level of influence. So what you'll find within the commercial excellence guide is dedicated commercial excellence roles, revenue growth management, commercial analytics, commercial capability, those sorts of roles. So looking forward to seeing what you think of them, particularly if you work in that space. And we also have guides for our friends in accounting and finance as well, which is the other area that AXR covers. So yeah, Ben, a little bit of why do we make a salary guide? Why do we produce them?
We make the salary guides there to support both at the employers that we're working for as clients, as well as the candidates as they build and grow in their careers. They work for both sides of the business there, but it's not just a tool that gives you a title and a salary. It's something that can really help you determine what those skills are that you're perhaps missing to get you to that next stage of your career. If you've got, for example, if you're a senior brand manager and you're aspiring to become a marketing manager, firstly, you really need to know what skills you have and how well you're doing them to begin with. Have you ticked all of the boxes as a senior brand manager before you're taking that step up into the next position? You also need to map out then what the position is that you're aspiring to become. If it's a marketing manager, know what their skills and general responsibilities are so that you can start requesting to take on some more of those responsibilities and build up those skills before you get there. You want people thinking of you as a marketing manager before you actually get promoted, because it's an easy choice for the employers to make once you've already got the skills in place.
Yeah. And we're very proud of our salary guides. We get an awful lot of good feedback on them. And there's a few things we do as a business which people find incredibly valuable. So this podcast is one, the Sales and Marketing Collective, which goes out monthly, which includes a wrap up of all the interesting career moves in Aussie FMCG, is another really popular asset of ours. Salary guides are right up there as well. And I think the points of difference we have for ours is, as Ben hinted at, our guides include all of the information that you need and none of the information that you don't. So It's quite common for salary guides to include a lot of information that kind of sits around remuneration and benefits. So things like statistics on flexible working and employee engagement and all that sort of stuff. And it's all interesting, but we've chosen to make ours very much about salary, but not just the numbers. So what we do is build guides based off, firstly, the hundreds, if not thousands of conversations that we collectively have across the entire year, both with people looking for a role and people in roles. We really understand what people are being paid at different levels. But then we also use the expertise we've got in the spaces that we operate in to make sure that we're really clearly talking about role scope. Because title is one thing, but a NAM role in one business can look very different from a NAM role in another. We talk about our definition of what NAM actually looks like so that you as an individual, and if you're a business leader as well, you can read that scope and go, okay, are we actually comparing apples with apples here? It's more about what the scope of that role entails. And scope is influenced by a number of things. So it can depend on the business size that you're working in. It can depend on the performance of you as an individual. It can depend on how well you've negotiated your salary. There's so many variables that go into it. So instead of just really opening the guide, going straight to your role and reading across the number that's there, we encourage you to really explore the role scope, get familiar with that, and make sure you're actually talking about the right level. And that's where Ben's point around using this as a roadmap for your development is crucial, because you can read up to the roles above, or you can read across the other packs and look at different roles you might want to do in other functions and get a really good idea of what those roles entail and therefore what you need to work on. How do you think candidates should be using the guides, Ben? How do they get the absolute most out of them?
Well, you started to talk about that just then, actually. Really being able to use our guide as a candidate to identify where you are in your career. Are you meeting all of the criteria that you need to be working at the level you're currently at? And then working with your hiring manager to map out a career development plan to help you fill those gaps as you move further forward in your career. Similarly, on the other side, as an employer, it's a way for hiring managers to come into career development conversations knowing the skills that someone at a certain level should be at and helping them progress to move further up in their career as well. There's an example of talking to one of our clients last year that actually had the employer had the salary guide on one side of the table and the candidate had our salary guide on the other side of the table. And it really helped them understand and find a happy medium to help them with their progression.
And we've heard that story from a few different quarters, that the guides are used quite widely by individuals and by businesses, which is something that we're very proud of, and we hope they become more and more useful. From a salary standpoint, Ben, in your area, so in marketing, have you seen any significant salary movements this year? Anyone who read last year's guide, are they likely to see any big swings looking at this year's?
It's been fairly steady, I think, over the last 12 months there. We've not seen any huge swings that have been unexpected there. There perhaps is a bit of stagnation. I think that brand manager to senior brand manager level that we'll start to see evolve a bit more over the next 12 months. And then in regard to marketing directors and above, because of the fact that there's been fairly few opportunities at that level, we're going to see salaries stay fairly stable as well, because when those opportunities come up, the employers are a bit spoilt for choice and they can actually hold out for people that will pay the brackets that they're wanting to pay rather than perhaps what the candidates are actually looking for.
Yeah. And it's a similar sort of story in the commercial space as well. There haven't been any huge swings. A few things that maybe have changed. I think you mentioned that discrepancy between what businesses want to pay or expect to pay and what the market or what candidates expect. It's probably really pronounced within sales, especially at a sort of national account manager level. We'll often deal with businesses who are going to market for an external hire on a NAM role for the first time in maybe 3 or 4 years, and they get a shock when they realize what they might have to be paying.
I think that's the difference between sales and marketing, where sales has actually increased in some of their salary bands and the employers are the ones getting the shock. Whereas on the marketing side, the expectations of the candidates are much higher and they're the ones getting the shock.
Yeah. And it's all about, it's just like any market dynamic. It's where the demand sits, right? But relative to supply. But I think what you've probably seen with national account managers, there's been no real change in the range. So the top end of the range hasn't necessarily increased, but the median has settled considerably higher within that range. At a slightly more senior level, you're starting to see national business managers become very well remunerated. So there has been a little bit of an upward creep in the scope there. I think in the commercial space, where we've probably seen the most change is probably at the very senior end. So there was a lot of sales director recruitment happening last year, a lot of demand there. That has pushed the sort of the median and the top of the range up. fairly significantly. And what you'll also see from us, which is a bit of a change, is a little bit more mention of those more senior roles at a sort of general management level, starting to creep into a real exec level, chief commercial officer sorts of roles within our guides. We always make a point to kind of stay in our lane and make sure we talk about things that we have credible knowledge of. The senior market is an area where we're becoming increasingly active in sales and marketing. And so we're adjusting the salary guides to reflect that. In accounting and finance, you'll find that, CFO was in last year's salary guide because we regularly operate at that level. Sales marketing, we're just starting to be more active in that market space. So watch this space this year. And the other change you might notice, if you're a regular downloader and reader of the salary guides, is a slightly different format this year. So we've always made an effort to make our guides really concise. We acknowledge that maybe in previous guides, that's made the readability a little bit of a challenge. We've tried to cram a lot onto one page. This year, there's a lot more room. It's a lot more spaced out, still really, really easy to navigate and actually a bit easier on the eye. So we hope they're even more practical and useful.
Absolutely.
As a result.
Andrew, what do you think it is about our guides that really makes ours different from others?
I think it's a couple of things. So one is, I think, how specialized they are. So I wouldn't even want to hazard a guess how many pages the typical salary guide is, but they're normally big documents.
Yeah, usually thuds when they hit the desk.
Yeah. And there's normally a lot of that upfront information around all the stuff that kind of sits around salary, and then salary tables without a lot of context.
All so ambiguous.
Ours are just salary tables with really good context and really good depth. And that reflects what we do as a business because we're very, very clear on the niches that we work in and we know them inside out. So that comes through. Honestly, I just think how practical and usable they are. They're very, very easy to navigate. It's very, very clear, both as an individual and a business, exactly where you should be looking and what information you should be looking for. So I think it's the fact that they're very, very specific to what we do and very practical and easy to use.
Exactly. We are specialists. We don't list every role in every industry. Like you say, it's not a 100-page guide. We do stick to what we know, and we're narrow in what we specialize in, but we're very deep and we know our market well. The guides are actually created from a number of data points as well, and it's all based on facts. It's data that's been collected from surveys that we've run ourselves and from the thousands of conversations that we have every year that we keep track of. As we talked about earlier this year, it's not just titles and salaries. It is a tool that can be used for so much more, whether supporting even the creation of a job description, because you've got the skill sets that are listed within that, or really helping you map your road to success. So both employers and candidates can really use this to help develop their teams.
Great. So if someone's listening to this episode and they haven't yet downloaded the salary guide, haven't seen them before, what should they do?
Well, we're definitely going to be having that available to be downloaded from our website there. For some of you, you may be listening to this before the guide comes out there. If, depending on what order it's in, we're going to make sure that we've got the link embedded within the salary guide so that you can refer back to this podcast and use that as a guide to help you interpret the data that's in that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you've got the guide, read it, digest it. And then if you want to discuss anything within that you find interesting, whether you are actively looking for a role or perfectly settled and just looking to have a sounding board, someone to give you advice, someone who's got a vested interest in helping you make the best possible career decisions, get in touch with us. We love having these conversations around what's in the salary guide and helping you map out your pathway using them. So yeah, download them, read them, get using them, and please do let us know your feedback. That's one of the many assets that we produce here at AXR. One of our most popular ones is the podcast. We hope you found this episode interesting and useful. So we'll see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, it's a big thank you from Ben and I.
Indeed. Have a great day, guys.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast from AXR Recruitment and Search. We're passionate about helping you get the most out of your sales and marketing career. Keep listening as we bring you more career insights and advice from Australia's inspiring sales and marketing leaders. See you next time on Your Future in Sales and Marketing.